Hello, everybody. Welcome to the DGBA Season 6 Swarm Power Rankings. This is your commissioner and admin of Swarm, good old crew Jack here, and I'm joined by very two special guests today, my fellow admins of respective divisions. We got good old Haz here. Haz, you want to say hi?
Hello.
And we also have the Lord himself, Agronauts here. Aggro.
Greetings, good morning to all.
And yeah, we're here to bring you guys these Swarm Power Rankings. I'm going to do a quick disclaimer. These notes that we have are very
Non-existent.
non-existent. Yeah, that's very non-existent. This wasn't the planned initial crew to do this, but we are here to step in and get the job done for Swarms, and I'm sure all
We did it for our love for the Swarm division.
Yeah, we love Swarm so much
Yes.
that we just want to show.
Please go easy on us.
Yeah, so please go easy on us. Quick disclaimer again, no notes, but also it doesn't really matter because all these teams are pretty poo-poo anyway. So, any memes or anything you guys want to say before we get going, or should we just get right into it here?
I think our next coach will be a meme in itself, so why don't we...
Yeah, let's get to it. All right, you're right. All right, so to kick things off here at number 16, we have the worst coach in the league, obviously, with his Blitz. And his team is going to consist of Mega Mawile, Slowbro, Cinderace, Nihilego, Stunfisk, Kommo-o, Clefairy, Blissey, Guzzlord, Thwackey, Alolan Ninetales, and Arctozolt. Yeah, I don't I don't really know so much other than how are you taking a ground attack? Like how? What?
The Slowbro is it needs to grow wings. That Slowbro is literally the flying type on this team.
I wouldn't be surprised one week if he just brought 6 Air Balloon Mons.
He can tech the Air Balloon, yeah. Easy peasy.
Air Balloon Mega Mawile.
I think also, I guess we'll mention as well, these are the week 0 teams. Some of these coaches have made transactions, so this team is different now. But this is the initial draft they had, and honestly, what the fuck was he doing?
Not only is there the lack of a flying type or any sort of ground immunity, which I mean, to be fair, he also has the Thwackey with Grassy Surge. So how can he truly be weak to ground types with that?
I'm sure.
Yeah, what was high horsepower?
Yeah, that'll for sure, sure things up there. But yeah.
Yeah. I think the other issues with this team as well is the fact that there's not a single mon that has removal as well. You see, I think when Blitz was heartbroken when his Nidoqueen got sniped, he seemed to have gotten how to draft, and that is very apparent.
It's every draft league player's dream to pair Mega Mawile with Hail, but I think pivotal to that is to select a Defogger / Rapid Spinner. As Arctozolt and Ninetales, they're going to be taking 25% every time.
They're just going to run boots. I mean, you maybe want Lone Ninetales to keep the hill up with the Icy Rock.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be pretty hard to bring that in constantly. It's taking rocks damage.
One positive is Alolan Ninetales is a top 10 draft mon, or maybe top 5 according to A Drive. So
Look, Blitz, you have that going for you.
Yeah.
I think some other stuff as well. I think Clefairy and Blissey are just really redundant together. They just kind of fill the same roles essentially. I don't think you need both of those. I mean, he has a lot of contact like Stealth Rock.
That's good.
And so he can do
He's
that.
getting
But
the heads up at least.
yeah, well, I mean, technically his only removal is the Cinderace with the court change.
Maybe that's his plan.
So he's gonna set up rocks only to get them back when he court changes. I guess some positives. I think Mega Mawile Slowbro, that's a pretty good call. I think Cinderace and Nihilego with that isn't bad. I think after that it just does become kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why Stunfisk was the following pick.
Yeah.
Kommo is okay as well, but yeah, like you said, it's real lack of like default support as well. I think even like the defensive core as well. It's just like Slowbro, Stunfisk, Blissey, maybe Clefairy. I don't know. I don't know if that's really like a proper defensive core per se, or like a super reliable one. Offensively, I think this team's okay. like Cinderace, Neologo, Mega Mawile, and with that Hail Core, that's not too bad. I don't really know why the Hail Core's there exactly, unless you wanted like more speed. It just seems
Yeah.
kind of packed on because he just said like a panic kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it adds another element to his team, but overall, I mean, I think this team's got Mons by themselves, which are good enough to win you games, but overall, like, I think when it comes down to it, like, just by itself as a team, it's not, due to the kind of the all weaknesses has, it's not really going to function well, coming up
Yeah.
against a good, well-prepped team, in my opinion at least, but...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well, like base 100s can run like positive natures on this team. I think it goes Neologo into Como, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
So that is not ideal too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think this team's just completely all over the place. I don't really understand what's going on there.
Yeah. Anything else we want to say, or should we move on from this?
This I'd say as well, it's a bit fighting weak. I'd say maybe it's I think Slowbro that's just really reliant on like taking
Yeah.
fighting hits.
Yeah. So
Like maybe Clefairy in like some aspects. But fighting's with coverage are going to be kind of annoying if they're able to break down Slowbro. And yeah, I actually think it's actually quite achievement that it's just number 16 because we had some of the other teams coming up.
That's true. Aggro, you want to say anything, or are we ready to move on here?
No, I just hope that after Blitz makes his transactions, which he already has done, that his team improves. But
Yeah, so with his
That's one more
transactions, I think
today.
he let
got
me
a
get them
Salamence
up.
to a Charizard.
Yeah, he picked up. So he picked up Salamence, Charizard, Mienshao, Weezing. He dropped Kommo-o, Nihilego, Guzzlord, and Clefairy. Which I mean, I'm not too sure what to make of those transactions.
Yeah.
Like, what's his special breaking now?
Nothing. It's all physical
It's
offense. It's all
It
physical.
does not
Charizard
exist.
with in the sun.
It's nasty plot slow, bro.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But I mean, look, he now has 3 ground immunities with that, so but congratulations.
Yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's better. It's better now, but still.
Yeah, it's slowly making progress, but it's
Yeah.
good job.
All right, we'll move on here. We'll move on to number 15. We have a brand new coach to the league, Farden, whose team's going to consist of Zapdos, Toxapex, Jirachi, Dragonite, Chansey, Gothorita, Buzzwole, Ditto, Mega Sableye, Quagsire, and Zygarde 10%. I mean, in terms of like analyzing it as the draft team, like it is kind of just, as you can see here, it is stall. Like that's kind of just what it is. And in draft, I think a lot of people have different sort of views on whether or not they think draft or stall's good, bad, and like that. I think it's kind of just it's very matchup dependent. I think there's gonna be some matchups where it's just like so good that your opponent can't do anything about it. But I feel like good, well-constructed teams can kind of play around it at least. And for me, it comes down to like if this stall team can also function in another way as well. Like it's not only stall; it also can be a bit more offensive, be more balanced. But I don't think this team can kind of do that, but not really. I think its really only mode is kind of just stall, and then that's kind of it. Like if it's not a good matchup, then that's kind of it for Farden. I don't know. What do you guys think though?
Yeah, it is. What I will say is, looking at the way this stall team's built, and looking at other attempts from mighty players such as the great J-Caps, his attempt at stall, I can definitely understand that Farden definitely knows how to build a round stall.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of components here that like make sense when like trying to build like a stall team. Stuff such as like unaware Quagsire. Like ideally, I think like Clefable would have like probably made this team a lot better. I'd say because I think from what Theo's shown us, that Clefable was like very pivotal in terms of having a stall team on draft. There's stuff like Ditto, Magic Bounce, Sableye, Trapping with Gothorita. But I do think there are like a couple mons which like could be like which do have like enough versatility outside of like just being like fats. So stuff like Zapdos, Jirachi, Dragonite, and even Buzzwole. I think it's crucial that he's able to like use these kinds of mons in order to like get around for the fact that he has a lot of other passive mons such as Chansey and Mega Sableye, which that's a famous call made by A Drive. So this team has to be really really good if A Drive made finals in GBA with that call.
Yeah, it really does. One small thing I will mention is, I mean, it's kind of like, obvious, but like in general, I feel like this team's kind of dark week in the sense that like I feel like clicking knockoff versus team's really really valuable, and you don't really lose much from it. Because obviously you can swap in Sableye, sure, but it doesn't even resist the dark move. Like everything else.
Yeah, I think it's just Buzzwole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Buzzwole. I feel like also in some matchups when you see Buzzwole come, it may be that kind of Scarf Mon to kind of just clean up a Mon if something dies, and then it's gonna lose the Scarf if you're swapping that in. So
yeah,
I feel like that's kind of rough in that retrospect. But even still, like is spamming like Dark Wolves versus team, I think is pretty free in my opinion as well.
Yeah, I think a couple of other things like the only dragon resist with Jirachi.
Yeah, there's no. I was gonna say there's no fairy type either.
Oh,
so.
Yeah.
That's very important for stall, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, because like dragon has a pretty prevalent in draft league. I mean, I don't think you have to have a dragon type. There's just a lot of really good ones.
Yeah. Some very good ones, like a Garchomp versus team or something. I know there is a Buzzwole,
Yeah.
but even still, like that's pretty rough in my
Yeah.
opinion.
And then a couple of other things I can think of. I think the ice resist, Toxapex and Jirachi, they're both really, really good ice resist. But I think the issue is like they're both kind of weak to ground, so you can kind of exploit that. And like both of his defoggers are ice weak as well. So I think in terms of like building, that can definitely be something that can be exploited. Like trying to like bait out like one of his defoggers in order to like hazard stack. Although, like with the Mega Sableye, that can still kind of be played around a bit more. But it's just something to like keep in mind as well. Like I think like the thing is like with this team, yes, there's probably a lot of people think like, oh my god, this team's terrible. But I think there actually is enough components where if he's able to both play well and like prep well, he can actually overcome a lot of matchups. But I think there will be certain matchups which are going to be hard with this team, especially with like the only real speed being Zygarde 10, which I think he's now dropped as well.
Yeah, he did.
He picked up like G-Darm and let me check what else.
He dropped Ditto and Zygarde and picked up G-Darm and like I think a Shedinja or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, but I kind of get the Gallagher. I kind of actually like it in the sense that like. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, like in terms of like having certain modes for the team, I feel like it's kind of stall or bust this team. You can't really do anything else. But Gallagher at least adds some more extra offense, and at least another maybe potential Scarf options. So Buzzwole isn't fully locked into that.
No, I think the G Dump's like a pretty good add-on.
Well, it was a smart pickup.
Yeah, but then, like you said, he does.
You definitely need at least one presence on your stall team. I feel like, especially in draft.
Yeah, so I think that's good. But yeah, overall, like I said, like now it's kind of it comes down to modes and sort of if you can pivot to do other things if stall doesn't work, and in some matchups.
Yeah, I think
that good.
I think the only other thing I can think of is like the instant special breaker just seems to just be Zapdos and like maybe like Jirachi and Dragonite with boosting items, but I think they're also gonna want to run other items as well, which just kind of makes that a bit awkward. But I mean, this was like a first attempt in terms of drafting. So I think this is like for like a stall team. This definitely isn't bad. I think it would just take like more experience just to understand the meta more.
Exactly,
so yeah.
Anything else, or should we move on here to number 14?
I think it's fine.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to number 14, which is going to be Strange. His team's going to consist of the good old Clefable, Kyurem, Necrozma, Serperior, Terrakion, Tentacruel, Grimmsnarl, Licky, Rotom, Braviary, Mega Aggron, and the very powerful 1-point Octillery. Does anybody want to start on this team? Anyone have any initial
Yes,
points?
I will start off by saying, so the other day, the power went out and I lost all my electricity. And Strange would be very happy about this because his team does not appreciate the electric types whatsoever.
It does not. It definitely does not.
There is not a ground type on this team. I think ground types are like one of the most important types in drafts. And the fact that he doesn't have a ground type is like pretty pivotal, I'd say.
Yeah, I think Aggro said it best. Like this team would even lose to a Gen 8 Jolteon now. Like,
Oh no! Oh no!
You could rock up with your Jolteon, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like bulky
So you
Kyurem like can obviously take hits, but like main thing is that it can like bolt switch for free. Like bolt switch just isn't punished whatsoever, and that like means that the team is like the momentum on this team is just like Fable, Rotom,
Braviary.
yeah, Braviary, but Braviary doesn't really run U-turn that much, but like the momentum on this team is just really lacking as well, which is even worse when it's really easy to gain momentum on this team.
Yeah, I think he did well with the first 3 picks, but then it's just, and then the Terrakion as well. But then after that, I just don't really get what he was going for. It kind of looked like he wanted to commit to, kind of be a bit more defensive, but then kind of left some glaring holes, as you mentioned, the electric weakness. As well as the fact that I think it's kind of ground spammable, especially when like 3 of the mons that either resist or are immune to it are mons that are less than 10 points and probably aren't coming to every single game.
Yeah,
and especially when Mega Aggron as well, like you want to cover those weaknesses for it. And yeah, I don't know. It's some weird decisions overall. I mean, obviously, likes of Clefable, Kyurem, the Crossman are very solid mods that can definitely win you games, but like outside of having the instant offense of Terrakion and then like setting up with Clefable or Necrozma maybe, it's kind of apparent on how this team wants to win games. I think it's kind of just very transparent from looking at this team and how it wants to win, and you can kind of play against it.
Yeah. I mean, he definitely has a lot of room for creativity, stuff like Clef, Necrozma, even Kyurem to an extent. Like he definitely, I think he can play around some of these weaknesses. I just think the ground type is like such a like pivotal flaw within this team.
Yeah.
Like I've used Serp in Gen 8, and I actually think it still like offers a lot of value for a team. But I think it isn't a mon that fits on every team. I don't know if I like it like an insane amount on this team. And then there's like some other interesting picks. Like Grimstar can be alright in some matchups, and then other matchups it's just I feel like it doesn't really do that much. Tentacruel's like okay. Licky on this team. I think I like Licky. I guess that puts a burden of Clef being like more of a Wishmon. And of course being like a ghost check. But stuff like Braviary and Rotom, I feel like they're just here for defog, and they don't offer like a ton much else.
Yeah, it's kind of there. It's kind of way
I think Mega Aggron's actually fine on this team as well.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Just
It's supported well enough. It's got the resist it needs.
And I mean, Octillery, I know Croft likes Octillery. And I think Octillery is like not the worst water type in 1 point as well. So hopefully he can do some stuff. Unfortunately, it does not get Moody.
That's so
but alas. And I think I guess the only other thing is I think this team there are quite a few mons, like pivotal mons on this team which are weak to fairy types. I do think Mega Aggron and Tentacruel are like good, like fairy switch-ins. But they're both weak to ground, so that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, the ground.
I also think the team. Oh, sorry.
I was to say, yeah, again, like there's just too many type weaknesses. I feel like in this team are common weaknesses that makes it kind of hard to function. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think it would appreciate a faster top end too, as well, because I think the fastest mon is Serp.
Yeah, it's Serp.
If that mon's not coming, and you've only got Terrakion as your fastest, so that allows any Pokemon to go positive natures against you. You don't necessarily want.
Yeah. I mean, definitely could be argued a bit more speed. But
yeah.
I mean, I think it is it's not slow per se. This team. But yeah, that can be argued because Serp is a matchup dependent mon.
Yeah.
You could argue depending on what team it's on.
Yeah, and it's gotta come for that ground resist. Unless you're bringing
Exactly.
Rotom or Braviary every week. Like,
yeah.
It's just kind of brutal.
Yeah.
I feel like
I mean,
I feel like it's strange.
I
use a lot of headaches with this team prepping, but yeah.
I use Rotom in like Gen 7. I actually like really appreciate the utility that it has. But yeah, it is like there definitely are matchups where it probably isn't going to be super great. And then Braviary, I think like Braviary definitely isn't bad, especially with boots. Like it can do some like cool stuff. But we'll see how often it comes. Yeah. I think if he's like creative with his team, I think he can get around a lot of the flaws. But honestly, just he really needs to try to find a way to fit a ground type on this team. Like, I think I'd maybe drop the Licky and try to see if you
Yeah.
can get around it through that. Unless he's like worried about ghost types, in which case I can kind of understand. But yeah, I think he just really needs to fit a ground type.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like you just kind of, if you kind of just mission match and try to swap ones out around like the middle of the pack and kind of make a few transactions, it could definitely fix things up in terms of like the
Yeah,
distance
yeah. No, I definitely think there's potential within this team. It's just like a couple of like holes.
Yeah. Alright then, we will move on here from Strange. We'll be going over next to Craft, and Craft's team is going to consist of the Urshifu Single Strike, Mega Aerodactyl, Gengar, Silvally, Registeel, Rotom-Mow, Comfey, Duraludon, the very powerful Palpitoad, Heatmore, Diggersby, and Starmie. Does anyone want to start in this team? Or
Yeah, I'll start off with a question for everyone here. Okay.
okay.
Do you think Palpitoad is a 1.1 or a 2.1?
It's a good question.
These are the questions. Is it better than Marshtomp?
I think it's a 1.1 here, but it'll be putting in the work of a 2.1 as it has to resist all the water types. It has to absorb all the water types, in fact.
Yeah, water.
Thank you, Akhenaten.
Water. I don't know what fucking point it is. I'll leave it at 1. I don't think it's a fucking Palpitoad. Like,
Yeah, but for people who don't understand the context of this, this debate is argued every season in DGBA Council. So Kraft decided to draft it so we can debate it some more next season.
Don't worry, he has the Rotom-Mow there and the Duraludon.
But yeah, looking at this team, like probably, I think the first 3 picks offensively are really good.
Yeah.
Gengar is like a really nice pairing with Urshifu, being able to like Urshifu basically you turning into Gengar on like the fairy types. That's really scary. And then Gengar really appreciating the fact that Urshifu can break down darks and normals are nice. And then you have Mega Aerodactyl, which I think is really good as well, just being like a really fast mon. Because like Urshifu's more of a breaker, and then Aero and Gengar can act more as cleaners, which I think is nice. And then with like the direction this team went, I think Silvally's actually like a fine pick here. Just being able to fill out certain roles, which I think it will need to do on this team. And then with Registeel, Rotom-Mow, you could argue maybe with Wish Pass, like this could maybe work a bit better defensively. But I think overall defensively this team kind of falls flat, I'd say. But I think the offense is pretty good. It's definitely gonna have to rely on the first 3 and a couple of these other mons, like maybe Diggersby and Starmie. If he didn't drop them, which I think he's now dropped them, those 2 mons maybe could have come in clutch. I forget what he's picked up, but I guess some of the other issues is that I'm really not too sure about the Duraludon. I mean, Palpitoad, Palpitoad and Heatmore are like both 1 point, so I think that's kind of whatever. Like those mons can probably do something for 1 point. Duraludon outside of like maybe pressuring fairies a bit more, I'm not too sure why it's there. I think Comfey's fine as well. So it's just a weird blend of a team, I think, overall.
Yeah, I thought he did well with the first 3 picks, and then Silvally I think's fine. It's just after that, everything after that, I don't really know what direction he was kind of trying to aim for, what he was trying to hit, because I don't think it doesn't really hit the mark for me. I think too many things were, too many holes in my opinion, too many type weaknesses, no real defensive core to sort of at least back up and give time for the offense to get going. In some matchups, it's kind of just like, it's almost like he's got to kind of rush to get the top 3 going, and they may need some time in some matchups where they may not get it. I mean, the Registeel's fine, but just by itself, I feel like it's kind of just there. I don't know. I mean, it's got the Comfey as well, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of just whatever kind of defensive core, in my opinion. You can play around it, it's fine. But yeah, and again, like you mentioned, water types, it doesn't look fun. It doesn't look fun.
I think with the first 3, you'll struggle to pair from the rest of your 9 Pokemon to choose from. You'll struggle to pair another 3 that will make the team fit nicely. I think there'll always be some sort of hole because what are you going to bring? So Valley, Registeel, Rotom, then you'll be susceptible to or like water types. You have to have a strong Steel Valley, water resist, stuff like this. I feel like it's not the end of the world. I think the top three can definitely carry the team. You just have to be careful around your last three. You don't get caught out defensively.
Yeah. A couple of other comments I'd say. I think this team does find fighting types a bit annoying. Same with maybe ground types to an extent, even though it does have like two immunities, but they're like both kind of like weak to ice. I'm not a huge fan of Rotimo as the only grass and electric because they just make water types annoying. But I will say that Starmie's pretty good at switching into water types and pressuring those out. So I think that can be kind of played around. I'd say I like the momentum on this team, given how offensive it is. I think the momentum is really nice. So yeah, I think it really does depend. He has to be very aggressive with his team, in order for it to work.
Yeah, I think the offense in itself will win himself some games, but then when it comes down to it, like I think the latter end of the draft is going to kind of hold him back from some certain games.
Yeah,
it's difficult for him to put those mons into good advantages or good positions to where they can actually win the game. But I think it can work. It's just a bit, not say top heavy, but just I don't know. I don't like the big, construction at the bottom half. Kind of, it's kind of just.
Yeah, I think he just has too many niche mons. Maybe it might be the way to put it.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Anything else we want to say, or should we move on here?
We can move on.
All right, let's move on. Moving on to Ishan. Oh boy, Ishan.
Ah, here we go.
Ishan. So Ishan has drafted Landers, Weavile, Nidoqueen, Mega Slowbro, Thunderous, Bronzong, Miltank, Slurpuff, Scentiscorch, Vileplume, and Druddigon. And I'd like to let everybody know that for Ishan to create this masterpiece, it took him 46 hours to do this team. Wow. That is incredible. And he came up with this in 46 hours. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I wish I had the mind of
the time he put in has helped him. He's masterminded an incredible force to be reckoned with each week.
Yeah, if you guys can't tell on the side there, those are the times for how long it took him to draft each pick. And no, it's not minutes. That's hours. Yeah.
And yeah, it took him 46 hours to come up with the great Lando I Nidoqueen core. Yes. So for people who didn't know, this was not in fact intentional. Ishan did in fact forget that he had the Lando Eye on his team, despite being his first pick and it only being round 3.
Yeah. You must have forgotten Nidoqueen was a ground type. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lando Eye Nidoqueen isn't the worst pairing in the world because like Nidoqueen can like pressure a lot of the stuff that switches into Lando Eye, mainly like bulky grass types. So it is workable. It's just as a third pick, it's kind of weird, especially with, like the rest of the stuff that he has. I don't really think it makes a ton of sense. Besides, like maybe it'd be nice for like Mega Bro, but that's just kind of it.
Yeah, I think it can work. It's kind of weird in that regard, having the double ground. I don't think it makes this team worse. It's just, they.
Yeah, I think he maybe could have like picked up like I don't know, like a Bella Steel type or something, which would have been really nice for this team. Some of the other things I'll say about this team is that so the top 3 mons are Weaver, Fundy, and Lando Eye. But I feel like all of these don't really want to be forced into a Scarf set because so Weaver and Fundy are obviously both weak to rocks. And the issue is his defoggers are Fundy and Lando, and he doesn't really have any other rapid spin or anything. So yeah, that removal's pretty down bad. And obviously Lando Eye, you kind of want it to run Life Orb as much as you can. Like it can run Scarf like fine enough, but having the Life Orb just gives it that extra power and just makes it worth what it's worth essentially. And then some of the other picks are just kind of weird. Like honestly, in terms of mons that actually force speed, because Miltank's not even really a speed tier because it then goes from like Lando Eye, all the way down to Nidoqueen, which I think is a pretty like big speed gap as well.
Yeah, it does.
Looking at it,
yeah,
and I think maybe this team could have also done with a bit more momentum too. I think there are also just some weird picks all in all.
Yeah, Yeah.
There's a lot of like double typings, like double psychic, double poison, double ground, double flying.
Yeah.
Which you know what, Ishan, fair
Double
enough, fair
master.
enough. Yeah, I think they seem maybe could also appreciate a fighting type as well.
Especially with the Weavile, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, Weavile, that would be nice for Weavile. I mean, yeah, I mean, for pivoting, now he's got Bro, and then, like, Landover, Thundy, clicking U-turn, and that's kind of it, really.
yeah, and like Mega Bro isn't as good of a pivot compared to like regular Slowbro because of the lack of regen. Like Staffy's still like a good regen pivot. But I think if you're able to like spike stack against this team, that does cause a lot of problems because like his defoggers are mons which don't really want to run defog. So I think he's just pretty weak to hazard stack in general.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he really have Mons. I mean, he kind of has Mons to pressure the Mons that are going to set up hazards, but not really. Because he doesn't want Weavile and Thunder to run boots every week. He would probably like to run a couple more, bit more offensive items to make him, pop a bit more. But,
Yeah.
if you can't prevent the hazards from getting set up, or at least remove them, like, they can't. They got to run boots. I feel like just opponents just clicking rocks instantly can start to spam knockoff is again also pretty free versus this team doesn't really have the greatest dark resists outside of Slurpuff and Weavile, which is kind of
Yeah, which is aren't really that great.
yeah, that's not ideal at all. I think that's gonna be pretty frustrating for Ishan if that's what he's gonna look at and just go, oh well, okay, knockoff, just coming, I gotta swap in my Weavile. And it's like, or I gotta lose my item on something, or I guess he can swap in Bro, maybe he'll take it well, but you don't really want to when your dark resist is slow bro, or mega slow bro.
Yeah,
It's not taking all knockoffs with hazards and everything.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
So,
I think if he was able to get a bit more removal on his team, a lot of these weaknesses wouldn't be quite as bad. But because the defoggers just aren't really that great, it just piles up into what's ended up with his team. And even with that, I just feel like the bottom end of his team just feels just kind of lackluster to me.
yeah. To be fair,
I think Center Scorch and Varplan can be changed to like a fighting type and something that can defog as well, reliably. Not sure what their value is.
Yeah, because like the bottom three, to be honest, could all just be maybe not Jordagon, but like I don't see like if you remove like the bottom three or bottom two or whatever, like it doesn't really affect the draft that much. I feel like because of just how high tier the top mons are. Like it's just you could probably exchange them out for something better, and then it adds a bit more to team. Like even like I'm trying to think of fighting type you can add. I don't know. I'll say Hitmonlee, but I don't know. But yeah.
Right, suggest a Hitmontop. Suggest a Hitmontop.
Hitmontop. No, I'll go.
Yo.
I'll go level up. Hitmonchan. That's what I'll suggest.
Oh, there you go. Ishan, your team's fixed.
Priority as well. Very good.
Genius. Yeah, I just don't really see the synergy between all like I understand the synergy for some of these mons, but just collectively as a team, I think it just falls flat.
You know what? Actually, Ishan, looking at it, yeah, go draft Hitmontop. Go do it. You get some.
Yeah, go Hitmontop. I can't believe we're recommending a Hitmontop. This is what will we come to?
I don't know. Well, yeah, Ishan.
Okay.
Ishan, you still have time. You can resist the Hitmontop and just accept you're just gonna get hazard stacked each week.
I mean, the thing is Ishan shot him in the foot. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot again, please. You already did once. You don't need to lose your other foot.
Look, Ishan. Maybe if you don't think so much, maybe that will do it.
Yeah. If you make all your picks in 1 minute, maybe they'll be better. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe then you'll have the perfect team.
All right, we'll move on here from Ishan. We've given him enough shit. Let's go on to Slick Panther, who's got a very powerful team here in the Mega Diancie, Victini, Crocodile, Fairthorn, Keldeo, Crobat, Haxorus, Blastoise, Vikavolt, and the very powerful Bufalon. I mean, again, in my initial thought when I saw this team, this is pretty good. I feel like though, I don't know. He's got the Crobat and Vikavolt, which is fine, but I feel like in general it's kind of weak to ground in a sense. Like it kind of gets spam ground versus in my opinion, especially when you have Mega Diancie and Victini. I feel like it's kind of free to click water moves because I feel like those Dynasty, Victini, and Krug are always going to be coming as well. I feel like the most every game, and also all three of them are weak to water, which I think is pretty annoying for him too. But yeah, that was my initial sort of reaction when I saw this team, and I just kind of thought those weaknesses would be kind of annoying to just know going into prep, like that you're gonna know that your opponent's just gonna spam those moves, which is super annoying. Do you guys have any thoughts or anything about that, or anything else to add?
Yeah. So,
okay.
Aggro, you can go. You can go.
So we're going to say the same thing.
All right. Yeah, go for it. Go.
I was going to say that if I was to face this team and I had a Skarmory on my team, I would put Choice Band on my Skarmory and I would click Brave Bird every single time, as the resist is only Mega Diancie in the pre-Mega form.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty
think
annoying as well.
I think the lack of a flying resist is quite a big flaw.
Yeah.
Flyings are definitely in the meta and they're very strong.
Yeah, that's what happens when you make your electric type not resist it and your steel type not resist it. It comes down.
Yeah,
to
that is kind of
rock
weird.
type, yeah.
Yeah, kind of the way I see this team is, I definitely understand what you're trying to go for. I think offensively, this team actually mixes pretty well. Like, yes, like defensively, like the first three like don't really mesh well together, and I think that is a very, very fair criticism. But I think offensively, like those three are pretty good together. And then when you pair it with stuff like Keldeo in the back, Crobat, Haxorus if you prep for it, killer. Then I can definitely see like how this team can be like a big problem, especially when he has a lot of momentum as well. Stuff like Victini, Keldeo and Blastoise with flip turn, Crobat, Vikavolt for slow momentum. I think this team does have potential. The problem is I feel like defensively this team just is kind of like underwhelming. It's like Ferrothorn and Blastoise who both can be kind of chipped down. And that's just not really that great. So I think it just does force him to play it a specific way, and that can make him a bit more predictable.
You know, I just realized if he swaps out his Vikavolt for an Electros, he's good to go. Like
Of course. You know what I will say? I do actually like Webs on this team.
On the calculations.
Yeah, Webs isn't bad. I like Webs. And in terms of hazard control, like I think he's okay as well. He's got the Diancie with Magic Bounce, a couple decent defoggers, Blastoise with Spin. It's not bad.
Yeah, I think it's just defog, Crobat, and Blastoise Spin, right, in terms of its removal. Which I mean, they share an electric weakness, so that's something to keep in mind. But I mean, that's good switch into electric types, I suppose. So it's not the end of the world, but that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what to say this team because I feel like I've seen kind of Mega Diancie, Victini, Kruger similar style teams drafted before, and you kind of know what it does. Like this is something that for countless times, and it does well. It's just there are a few kind of issues that can occur depending on what you sort of draft in the latter half. But I definitely think this team can function and definitely win games if played correctly. It's just a few small holes that may not necessarily like lose in the game, but it could potentially be pretty annoying in prep when considering it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say, to be honest.
Yeah, it just needs to get going before the other team does, and then hope you out offense them.
Yeah.
Well said, Aggro. It's well said.
Thank you.
Well said. All right, do we want to move on here, or are we good?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. Move on to our good pal Turk, or Daniel, and his team is very, very powerful. He has got the Rillaboom, Celesteela, Zygarde, Volcarona, Vaporeon, Tyranitar, Mega Pidgeot, Uxie, Rotom Frost, and the Gramble. I just noticed the sprite for Gramble. It's a very interesting sprite. I don't really know. I know he made transactions to this team, quite a few. I don't really know what to think of this team. I kind of put this team also around like kind of the middle of the pack. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's like amazing. There's a lot of good solid mons in there. I think Rillaboom's really good. Celesteela is still good. I think Zygarde still has a ton of value in this generation as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to fully think, to be honest, of this team.
You know, I'll let you into a little secret. Venno says that this is the best team in Swarm. And
Really?
Benno has terrible opinions. So that kind of tells you just how down bad this team
Oh, so
is.
this is like last
Uh,
place. This should have been last place.
yep, yep.
Okay.
I think the main issue of his team is even with like good priority mons in Zygarde and Rillaboom, I feel like the natural speed on this team is kind of lackluster.
Yeah.
So he goes Mega Pidgeot down to Volcarona essentially, which is like one mon of a base 100 speed isn't great, especially when it's your Mega. So any mons basically above base 100 are basically kind of like free. Especially when you have like Zygarde as well, which is like a good DD mod. Like not having like, any waste like revenge, like maybe like revenge killing scoffers is gonna be kind of annoying outside of the priority. I think the bulk's alright. But a lot of these mons don't really like rely basically on like Wish Vaporeon in order to sustain themselves or stuff like Leech Seeds, Celesteela. Because like, even though there is grassy terrain, like a lot of his bulk doesn't really abuse it that well. So, like Celesteela and Uxie off the ground. Vaporeon probably doesn't appreciate Vaporeon and even Tita doesn't really appreciate the grass boosts necessarily.
Yeah.
I think all in all, like definitely isn't a bad team. I think like stuff like Celesteela, Zygarde, Rillaboom, Volcro, like these mons can mesh well offensively, and then you pair it with Mega Pidgeots. But it's just something to me that just feels really lacking on this team. Well, yeah, especially this on the speed aspect.
Yeah. I don't know. I also don't mean. I mean, I guess the T-Tar's fine because I think outside, if you didn't have T-Tar, like Ghost is just kind of pretty spammable versus Steam. As well.
Yep.
Outside like Pidgeot, like you don't want Pidgeot to be your switch in. But yeah, I definitely agree with all those points there. It's definitely good enough to win, drafts. I can see kind of why you might think this team kind of higher up because I think it's kind of style team where it's like it can switch from being very defensive and the mons can just kind of turn around and just go offensive because they can click moves, so be passive with Leech Seed, clicking Wish, clicking Flip Turn or U-Turn, and then you can just bring in some offensive mon to kind of just start clicking buttons once it's set up and ready to go. But terrain and the sand can kind of negate your mons even recovering up. And just make it, just neutralize that, and then it's kind of just whatever at that point. I know he did make changes, which I think made it a little bit better.
Yeah, so his changes are he's dropped Zygarde, Pidgeot, Uxie, and Rotten Frost. He's brought in Kommo-o, Excadrill, Bullfish, and Healerless.
Yeah, that's interesting because that adds a bit more speed controls draft. Because if you keep, in my opinion, if you keep the Rillaboom for this draft here, if you keep the Rillaboom terrain in control, you probably have speed control throughout the entire game. That's probably what's going to happen. But now you have to add an element as well of drill and sand. That's another thing you have to keep in mind considering that. So I guess there's now a few more options for Turk to kind of control the speed of the draft and how the game's going to end. Whereas now,
for sure,
with this draft, he only really has Rillaboom outside of that, or Mon cooking a DD or something. But
and the Healerless can also add natural speed. I think Kommo does do a similar thing to Zygarde in terms that it's really good sell up sweeper.
Yeah, that's true.
For the team.
I think his current draft as well, it doesn't have the best of defoggers. You only got Volk, Pidgeot, and Rotom.
Yeah, they're all weak to rock.
Yeah. Which is not the most ideal, and the only rock resist itself is Zygarde on this team, which isn't the worst rock resist, but definitely be exploited.
I think knockoff really punishes this team as well.
Yeah, knockoff looks pretty free as well. Yeah, knockoff's super annoying. Although, no, it is. Yeah, I'll say, I think knockoff's super bad. Anything else we want to say, or should we move on here from Turk?
We can move on.
Put up tier 2, Sword, the new coach, and he's got a very interesting team here. He's got Garchomp, Corviknight, Greninja, Slowking, Sylveon, Mega Heracross, Salazzle, Tangela, Lycanroc, Dusk, Kecleon, and Rotom Fan. Very interesting. I actually like the look of the team. The one thing I will notice is I want to mention one thing with this team is I've drafted kind of double water before and Greninja and more sort of defensive water. And what I noticed when I did that was whenever you do that, you need to make sure in my opinion, that you kind of have a couple decent options to deal with electric types. And again, like, it's Garchomp and Tangela, and that's kind of it. And like Garchomp, sure, can obviously take electric mounts, but when it's like a mon where it's like, it's a mon that can win you the game, and if the mon that you're swapping into has electric has a tech to just kill it, like, you can just lose the game on the spot. And you don't really want to be swapping your Garchomp in, because it's such a, you know, a polarizing mon. It can definitely just outright win you the game, but if you fuck it up, then you're just screwed from there. Which is just super annoying, because you got, you know, Corviknight, Gren, Slowking, all weak to electric, and you got one immunity, and then a Tangle as your resist. I don't know. That's just kind of rough in my opinion.
Yeah, like all his resists are weak to ice as well. It's just like Bolt Beam. It's the only real way of being that is like Sylveon, unless it's like a physical, unless it's like physical cover, in which case I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Might be
But,
one of the only team Blitz has a good matchup against with this.
Yeah, congratulations. Let's go, Blitz. Let's go.
Actually, what you can do is you can bring Kecleon, make a color change, and then.
Oh, true.
Yeah, that would work. That would work.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Blitz. Never mind. Just a bit too soon. I think Garchomp's the only rock resist on this team, right?
Yeah, he's got some spikes options with Gren and Hera. Or no, he's got Lycanroc, no? He's Lycanroc not rocks. Might be dumb.
Yeah, it's only rock resist though, is Chomp.
Oh, rock resist.
Yeah,
I thought you said rocker. My bad.
Yeah. No, he is Garchomp, Lycanroc, and then Kecleon, which I think is like that's fine enough.
Has done awful.
Yeah, he has like spikes with Greninja and Heracross as well.
Yeah.
The defogger, it is gonna rely on Corviknight to defog, I think. Rotom Fan, that can come to some games. But yeah, you mainly expect from Corviknight. I think that's probably workable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the offensive core a bit. But yeah, there is definitely like some problems.
Yeah.
Like another example is like Slowking is basically the only reliable ice resist as well. Like Greninja and Salazzle, those aren't taking offensive ice hits super well.
Yeah, and I guess I'll go back to kind of my first point with the electric one. Like, I had a very similar core of Gren, I had Gren, Tapu Fini, Mamo, and it's like, and my electric resists are Mamo and like I think it was a Toxtricity I think I had as my electric resists. And it was kind of like, where it's like, okay, well, I don't really want to swap Mamo with electric types, because if I swap it in and take the coverage move, like, I'm just losing them on that can potentially be my win con and win me the game. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to beat it offensively then. And it's just kind of super annoying to do that, and kind of limits your options. But yeah, I mean, it's a small gripe, but it's something you're probably gonna notice in some matchups for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, I don't know, like a Tapu Koko versus team looks pretty AIDS.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, fairies in general are pretty annoying. Like, a lot of his offensive core just really don't appreciate them. And on one hand, yes, they kind of like chip fairies like collectively. I just think offensively, it's just gonna be kind of annoying to deal with if Corviknight's basically chipped or pressured.
Yeah.
But it's still a good team. It's just, you know, in my opinion, it's just really those kind of small type pieces that kind of hold it back. But it's still really good.
Yeah, I think we're at the point of PRs where a lot of these teams are actually pretty solid. There's just like a couple of like small things that hold it back.
What do you mean? They're all trash. All of them are trash.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, terrible.
Aggro, you have anything else to add, or should we move on here?
The only other thing I want to say, I think the momentum on this team is good enough to support like Chomp and Heracross to get them in when they need to be in. If you've got decent enough options, which I quite like.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. He has a lot of like good like slow pivoting with like Slowking with teleport and Corviknight with U-turn, so that can get like some of these more frailer mons like Greninja and Salazzle, and you don't really want Garchomp and Mega Heracross taking too much chip as well.
Yeah. And in my opinion, he gets 10 bounty points for drafting Kecleon. All right, we'll move on here. Kecleon is very powerful. All right, we'll move on to our Lord and Savior Parksy. The very interesting draft here. He's returned. He's here to win Swarm. He is going to be picking up here Tornti, Gower Slowking, Rotom Heat, Kabalion, the God, Alolan Persian, Diancie, Gourgeist, Manaphy, Fortress, Meloetta, and Garchomp. Or Mega Garchomp, I should say. Overall, I like the look of it. He's obviously got the very, very popular Gen 8 core of Torrentee and Gower Slowking, which is very popular and it's very relevant right now in the Gen 8 meta. I think it's really good. And there's, I don't think there's much else to say there. Like, it's just, we know why it's good. It's amazing. The only thing I don't really like about this team, like, sure, he's got a lot of mons that can give momentum, but I just think, other than, like, maybe outside, like, Mega Garchomp, he kind of lacks just that bit of instant offense for this team, and he's got to be kind of creative on how he's going to kind of put himself into positions to the point where kind of Gower Slowking and 20 can just keep just switching out and just constantly winning the game. He's got to eventually break somehow, and it's really only Garchomp. He's got to be maybe creative with something else, I suppose, to do that. But yeah, and that could be kind of annoying for him. But overall, I think just the core itself and the top mons are just, they all synergize very well together. It's just kind of lacks that, offense for me, in my opinion. But yeah, what do you guys think?
This is
very much true on the special side too. I think the team might end up being too passive, so you're gonna have to bring more setup than normal. Especially you've only got like immediately maybe a Meloetta, and then Rotom has to overheat and lose its special attack, or Slowking has to set up, or Taunty. I think you're gonna have to bring more setup than normal games.
Yeah, he does have a lot of setup. Yeah, it's just mainly the instant breaking. Like, outside of like Mega Chomp, he doesn't really have any sort of like instant physical breaking, to be honest, without setup. And that can definitely be like a bit of a detriment to the team. I think defensively, like, this team, like typing wise, like, this team like all meshes well together. He's not really weak to any sort of typing. It's just, I think, even though he has Taunty and G King, outside of those mons, I think the sustain on this team's a bit awkward. A lot of these mons don't really have like natural recovery outside of like Guys maybe, or are like relying on stuff like Pain Split or whatever to recover back up. And I think like for example, like knocking off like Rotom Heat or Taunty can really be detrimental. On the other hand, he does have like good knockoff switchings, like Cabalion, Alolan Persian, and Diancie. So that can definitely be played around pretty well. Actually, even Mega Chomp's a pretty good knockoff switching. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind, especially because both his knockoff, both Rotom Heat and Taunty are his like main ways of like removing hazards. Because Fortress is like, it's not going to be a mon you're going to bring every week. So I think he just has to keep that in mind in terms of prep. So yeah, I think this team is like pretty good. I just think it's just lackluster in terms of breaking. I think that's just what leads it back, because it's just like Mega Chomp is just gonna be so crucial in pretty much every game, I think.
Yeah, like all the mons like fill out like the type synergy in a sense, but they're just mons that you like. Oh, I wish he had that mon because it's just a better mon. Like, I think that's kind of the way to put it. I also kind of thought at first maybe it was a bit flying weak because he has 2 steals that don't resist flying, but I guess he does have Rotom and Diancie, so it's not like.
Yeah, those are pretty good resists.
Yeah, if they weren't there, then you'd be in trouble. He's lucky that he got them.
Yeah.
I think the other comment I'll say about this team is that this team is like very. I don't know how to put this. The best way I could put this is 2018 drafting, as in he kind of just like after like Taunty and G King, I feel like he just kind of picked the mons that he just wanted the most, rather than thinking what the most valuable mons or what's most likely to go. Like, stuff like Cabalion, Alolan Persian, Diancie, like all these mons usually go on like either do not get drafted at all or go on like the later half. And I feel like he maybe could have gone like more valuable mons, which maybe could have helped out his team a lot more, because I feel like it's definitely like a very well balanced team, but there isn't a lot of these mons aren't mons which you can like bring every week per se. I think ultimately I think he has probably like enough versatility where that's probably not a huge issue. But I do think this team maybe could look a bit more scarier on paper if maybe drafted a different way. But I partly just like drafting that way, and if that works for him, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the team's bad at all.
Yeah, I just think stuff like Alolan Persian Dance are definitely more some mods that you see kind of going probably round 8 and beyond. That's kind of when you typically
Yeah,
see
and like
drafted.
Caballo doesn't really get drafted that much at all these days.
Yeah.
To be honest.
So overall, in my opinion, it's still a good team. It's just that it kind of just lacks that bit of instant like kind of fear and kind of offense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because the Mons are kind of just not to say bad Mons. It's just they're kind of lower end Mons that you kind of wish were better Mons. But yeah, do we have anything else to say about? Oh, of course. By the way, sub to Parksy. Make sure you guys sub to Parksy.
Yeah. Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Oh,
of course.
of
Subscribe
course.
to Oxy.
Subscribe to Parksy.
We'll put his channel in the description for you to subscribe to.
Of course. All right, we'll move on, Parksy. We love you, man. We're gonna move on to Devin, and his team's gonna consist of the two horse team with Lendotherian, Cortana, Mega Medicham, Heatran, Spectrier, Obstagoon, Gallimoltres, Glastrier, Dragalge, Omastar, and Zangoose. Of course, there as you can see with the horse, he's got both of them, guys. He's got both of them. Like,
Put them in the back.
what else do you need? Like when you got the two horses.
Yep.
Overall, I think his team's obviously very good offensive. He's got tons of great offensive options to choose from this team. My main problem, I feel like, with this team is kind of obviously defensively it's going to be kind of weak because with how much offense you have, it's you're going to be weak defensively. I just think that in general, special offense versus team looks really good in my opinion. Outside of swapping in stuff like your Dragalge, which is a mon that you probably aren't bringing every week. So I think special offense in general and probably in water types as well just looks super annoying versus this team. Because even if I had a bulky water like a Milotic something come in just to come in there and just start cooking Scald, even though you got like Obstagoon and stuff, like it's still super annoying. Like, where are you gonna swap into a Scald? You're gonna bring Dragalge every week and do that? I don't know. It seems kind of annoying to me. But because of the offense, I think it can definitely be kind of played around or kind of excused, at least because of how good the offense is to an extent.
Yeah, I think he is probably gonna have to be forced to bring the Dragalge most weeks because of those like flaws, because it does like cover up a lot of the cracks of his team. Which I mean, Dragalge definitely isn't a bad mon.
Yeah.
It definitely can be like annoying to switch in, and like Flip Turn does give it a bit more value. But yeah, having that mon be like kind of like carrying the weight of a lot of the flaws of this team isn't particularly ideal. I mean, I'm sure everyone's seen this team before. Devin basically just drafts like really similar stuff, like in all the leagues he's in. But like it works for him, and like even if that isn't considered in the rankings, like having like comfort picks definitely is important. And it's like his team offensively, in my opinion, this actually probably is the best team offensively in the entire league. I think like Mega Medicham, Spectre, Kartana, these are all just incredibly difficult ones to switch into and prep for. And the fact there's three of them on one team and they actually all like complement each other pretty well, that's a pretty scary thought. I think as well, all of like his offensive mons can actually be played in like more of a defensive role, which kind of makes up for the fact that maybe Dragalge is like his only like quote unquote like natural like special wall stuff like Lando and Heatran, even stuff like Obstagoon, and most importantly bulky Mega Medicham.
Yes.
These mons they can all be run like in really fat sets. Even like Glastrier as well. Glastrier is like incredibly bulky like naturally. So I think he could maybe play around it a bit with these kinds of mons. Oh, and actually Gallimoltres as well. That's a very good split F mon too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess my only other problems with this team, I think his hazards are fine enough. Lando and Heatran, they're both very reliable rockers, and I guess Omastar in the back as well for hazard stack.
Is he the only swimmer on the team?
I think Lando's probably going to be forced into defog a bit. Like there are some matches where Kartana can defog fine enough, but it is a bit risky running defog on Kartana, just because it can be like kind of exploited on the special side. But it does force a lot of switch-ins, and that's when it can defog well enough. So, Yeah, that and maybe this team could use a bit more momentum. I mean,
Yeah,
he
I was
has
gonna add that. Yeah.
Lando. I guess he has
The parting
parting
shot as
shot,
well.
Obstagoon, and like Dragalge with flip turn. I think another like another bulky mon with like pivoting would be nice for this team, just to get stuff like Cortana, Spectra, and Mega Metacham in for free. Just click buttons. But there's just a lot of mons which do just click buttons. I think this team's actually pretty brainless, to be honest.
Yeah, very
Um,
very brainless team.
yeah.
Kind of,
So
yeah,
he should do well with it.
yeah,
Yeah, I guess the only other thing is probably a, probably doesn't appreciate fairies a bit as well. Not I mean he breaks fairies completely fine enough, but just switching into them, it just kind of rely on Heatran. Because I guess it depends with Kartana. Maybe you can switch into like some physical fairy moves, but special, not so much.
yeah,
And actually, yeah, he doesn't have a fairy type himself, so Dragon Spam can be kind of annoying. But like I said, he has two steel types. And those are two steel types that actually like synergize pretty well together. So he could probably make that work.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I think the best way to put it is it's a pretty just brainless, just pretty decent team. It's definitely going to get wins just because of how kind of offensive it is.
Yep.
And it's still going to work. So we'll move on here to number 6. We're going to move on to our great pal here, Killer Askey. He's got a team consisting of Mew, Megalopony, Rotom Wash, Blacephalon, Skarmory, Tangrowth, Piloswine, Alolan Muck, Gardevoir, and the friendly Munchlax. My first thought was like, this is a team that I would use, to be honest. This reminds me of something that I draft, to be honest, with the similarities of like, Lopunny, Skarmory, Blacephalon, all very good offensive mons. Very kind of just, I don't know. It's just kind of like I'm trying to think the best word for it. It's just like you kind of know this team's. It's a good team, but these mons are kind of, what they're gonna do, but it's still good, even though that you kind of know what they're gonna do. It's still kind of hard to deal with at times. Like some Skarmory, Tangrowth, Piloswine, very good defensively. Megalopony, and then I know some people don't think it's the greatest anymore with the removal return. I think it's still fine if you just put it into correct situations and play around it a tiny bit differently. It still works really well. Good hazard.
Literally the kill leader last season.
Yeah,
In all divisions.
it has been. Yeah, and it keeps getting dropped down in our point system at our top. I think it's still fine Mega even without it. Playing with things such as like Mega Kick obviously kind of unreliable with Lopunny. Mega Lopunny is kind of one you kind of want to bring into revenge things, or kind of just to put things down that are kind of weak. Because if it speeds here, you can kind of abuse that. So I never want to use. I kind of lean more towards retaliate and just kind of making sure that they're coming in on mons that that are dropping eventually. You kind of use Skarmory and Piloswine to set things up for Lopunny to kind of just quick retaliate with the hazards and stuff, which I guess is harder in Gen 8 in a sense because boots are a thing. It's kind of harder to get chip on mons because of boots. They have some options with some knockoff support on the team to do that, to get rid of the boots, which is nice. And there's also the Mew there as well, which can do whatever the fuck it wants. So yeah, you guys have anything to add with Killer's team here?
I would say that with the Mew, I think it's supported well enough, but I think Killer might find himself having to run like a pivoting Mew some weeks. Because otherwise, he doesn't really have the best of. He's only got pivoting on his Lop and his Rotom. And
Yeah.
I guess Teleport Gardevoir on a technicality. But even so, I think if you're not running like a setup Mew, you're going to have to be running a bulky one to bring in your Blacephalon and your Lopunny. And the other thing I would say is that even though we've got the thick fat brothers in the back, and they can take some sort of fire attacks, Rotom is the only other fire resist, and something like a Victini, which I know he went up against week 1, will definitely be a menace to face.
Yeah, Victini looks rough. The fire resist is non-existent here, really.
It's Munchlax.
It's Munchlax.
Mr. Munch.
But at least,
Yum yum yum.
at least it's a good mon, Munchlax, so it'll come and help it out.
Yep.
Um,
I think as well, like only rock resist mega. Bro, everyone's just weak to rock. So whoever drafted the offensive rock types are having an absolute field day in this division.
I'm just
No one seems to
Lycanroc
be
Midnight's
interested.
not been drafted yet, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, you're like midday's been drafted, but not midnight.
yeah.
So
Your rock resistance.
definitely invest in your rock types.
Your rock resists are Skarmory and Tangrowth. Those are your rock.
Yeah,
resists.
yeah, essentially, yeah. Those are the Stone Edge switch-ins.
Yeah.
Mega Diancie, that'll be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, that's rough.
I guess my only other complaint is I think defensively it seems actually like pretty good. Like it's interesting pretty well. The only other like maybe complaint is that maybe like with the momentum thing as well. There are a lot of mons which are like kind of momentum drains. So stuff like Skarmory, Tangrowth, you kind of need to play them in a very specific way in order for you to like keep up the momentum essentially. So that's just something that I think Killer needs to keep in mind whenever he's like playing with his team or like prepping with it. Just having those like scenarios in his head to make sure he can keep up momentum. Because then I think that he's actually like the rest of his team's in a pretty decent spot. Maybe you'd like something else faster because then it's like Megalop, Blacephalon, and then to Mew. And like I mean it's subjective whether another fast one. I think that's like a preference thing, but it could be argued it could be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Scarf Blacephalon is gonna be kind of common otherwise.
Yeah. There's a small gripe as well. I feel like it's kind of a small thing, but I feel like this team would also maybe like something else to kind of deal with fairies in terms of killing a fairy and also taking a hit from
Yeah.
a fairy. And he's got Muck there, which can definitely kill it. Skarm doesn't really want to swap into fairies. It's not got the, especially if it's a specially offensive fairy, doesn't really want to swap in. So maybe kind of Mew may also maybe put into that role some weeks as well. Maybe have some coverage to kind of hit the fairies and stuff.
I mean, a lot of Mark does deal, even though it doesn't resist, because it's like really,
Yeah.
really bulky on the Spadef side. It can just like pressure them out fairly well.
Whatever
I got what you
yeah.
mean in terms of like instant like breaking.
Yeah.
There isn't really anything there, and like when you have like a Megalob,
Yeah, when you have Megalob,
that could be kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
you may be
yeah.
bring Muck quite a few weeks just to kind of aid and Mop, which is fine. I think Muck's
Yeah.
fine Mon. Not as
Yeah,
good as-
Mug's really good. Mug's really good with like the Mew, Megalop, and Blacephalon. I think that's just a very good pick.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, or should we?
Yeah, I think didn't he made some transactions, didn't he?
I think so.
I don't remember that.
Let's see.
He definitely has.
Let me see. Unless I am going insane. Oh no, he has. So he's dropped Tangrowth, Piloswine, Gardevoir, Munchlax. No, for
What?
Amoonguss, Gligar, Togekiss, and wait for it, Marshtomp.
Wait, that sounds even like he's. Well, I can. He's got the Marshtomp there. I'd say he has Warsaw for his fire types now.
Down bad.
No. Okay, and now we get part 2 of this discussion. Is Marshtomp a 1-pointer or a 2-pointer?
I don't want to go into it. I'm talking about it too much.
But yeah, those
At
are
least- at
definitely
least
some
Marshtomp
interesting
resists fire types.
transactions.
I can see why he drafted it.
For fuck's sake. All right, we'll
Epic.
move on here. We're moving on. All right, moving on to. Oh god, maybe we should actually go back to.
Oh no.
I don't want to talk about this. We got Rattata in here, guys. He's got the Mega Scizor, Hydreigon, Nidoking, Tapu Bulu, Reuniclus, Alolan Marowak, Suicune, Inteleon, Jolteon, Breloom, and Lycanroc. I think someone forgot to tell Rattataman that outside of Inteleon, this is a Gen 7 league.
Alright, the Inteleon
League,
is just
Gen 8 league.
the Inteleon just pretending to be a Greninja right there.
It honestly is. Oh my god, I bet if
Around-
he stuff he would have drafted it, and it's literally just.
Yeah.
Ninja wishes it was Inteleon. It's the other way around.
I was right. Yep. Greninja dreams of being Agent Leon when it grows up.
My only thought when I saw this was like, it's just like a good solid team. Like, I've had some more core of like Hydreigon, Nidoking, Reuniclus before. It's a good core. It works. Suicune as well. I know some people think Suicune's a bit more soft now. I think it's still fine in Gen 8. Jolteon, you probably want a better electric, but it is what it is. It's sort of lower end of the draft. I think it's fine. I don't
If
know.
you're playing Gen 7, Jolteon's amazing.
Yeah, if you are playing Gen 7, it's amazing.
But no,
Yeah,
not on this gen.
no,
Yeah, and even like with the Suicune thing, I think the issue in Gen 8 is that a lot of water types now have like blips on momentum, and the issue is Suicune can kind of drain momentum instead. So you kind of have to play it a bit differently. I also think the meta's changed a bit as well
yeah.
in terms of teams that can like use it well. Although I think Suicune's actually okay on this team.
Yeah, I think it works. I think it works with Bulu as well.
Yeah.
I think it works fine.
Definitely has a lot of it's definitely a lot of weird mons in terms of like Bulu you don't really see drop that much anymore. Suicune, like we said, Jolteon, Breloom, Lycanroc, Marak. These are like you could argue that like he maybe doesn't have like 6 like solid mons that can come to every single matchup kind of thing. But I think that even though these mons aren't really in fashion anymore, these are still like pretty good mons. And if he slept on mons if used correctly. So I think he can get enough value out of them, more or less.
Yeah.
Um,
Because his
the
steel is Scizor as well. It doesn't have the best flying and rock resists, to be honest. It looks kind of
the regular Lycanroc
yeah.
No,
is kind of coming
Lycanroc is
clutch.
he's
Lycanroc
a
and
rather
Jolteon.
fragile rock type.
Maybe there's gonna be a new set of Jolteon coming out. It's not gonna be the offensive Jolteon. It's gonna be the defensive one.
Yeah, defensive. That's
Wish
you
we
know,
had Jolteon. If Umbreon can do it, Jolteon can. Right?
yeah. A couple of other things I'll say. Well, I think all the rockers. It's Nidoqueen. That's right, Nidoking, Alolan Marak, and Lycanroc. I think that's like they're okay. I mean, Nidoking, maybe you'd rather it not be forced into a rock thing, so you can get like a T spike, but it's really good at pressuring like opposing poisons who want to get rid of the T spike. And then like Rock and Mark aren't really come to many games, and all of these also shared water weakness, so that I could definitely something that could be kind of something to consider during prep. And the only other thing is that Hydreigon's the only ghost resist. So ghost types with Dazzling Gleam, that's not going to be fun to face.
Yeah, it looks rough. Small thing as well when you draft things like Nidoking, for example, and that's kind of one of your rockers. I think if you want at least one other rocker that isn't weak to ground. So if you need to be, you can at least kind of swap in your ground.
Oh yeah, they're all weak to ground as well. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, like I don't know. I've had it before where I've had Nidoking.
What type of ability to patch it up?
Yeah, but that doesn't patch up high horsepower. It's a problem. That's like way more prevalent compared to Gen
Yeah.
7.
And like sometimes you're put in situations where it's like they're rockers and you know you're clicking rocks, or you know that they're clicking rocks, and you just want to kind of trade, like, and it's like, you know, you're gonna want to shoot yourself if you can swap it in and just lose your Nidoking when you think they're clicking rocks and they're not. Like that's just kind of annoying. You can't really trade rocks in that regard, so you kind of gotta get initiative to get rocks up if you want to do that in some matchups. Small
Yeah.
thing, but something to note, I suppose.
Yeah, like people used to draft like really ground weak teams, and they had Tapu Bulu to try to patch up. That wasn't really that reliable back then, and now with like more like prevalent ground coverage, which doesn't really care about like grassy terrain, that becomes a much like bigger problem with his like apparent ground weakness that he has. I'd say like the other thing as well. No flying type's kind of weird. I guess he has a Hydreigon with Levitate. I don't know if there are any like mold breaker mods that can abuse like that kind of thing. I guess Exodrum does seem kind of annoying to deal with. I guess he has like Suicune that can maybe soft check it, but that thing gets chipped over time. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind.
It's because he wants to take advantage of the grassy terrain. He doesn't want
Yep.
that. He wants to make sure all his mons get that yummy
All
recovery.
his mods. Yep.
All of them get that recovery.
They want
He can
to
run.
be
He can
ground.
run Iron
He can
Ball
run Iron Ball
Hydreigon.
and Hydreigon if he feels like it.
Yeah.
Get him down to the ground.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Anything else we want to say for?
I think the only thing
Um,
I would change is the Breloom at the end. I don't think it. I know he's got it maybe for another rock resist, but
Yeah.
like another ground resist, I guess. But
yeah,
I don't
probably,
think it fits very well. I don't think you can bring it too often in a team of 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think Breloom's definitely slept on Mon, I'd say, but yeah, I can see what you mean with that. I think a normal type is going to be pretty important if he's coming up against a lot of ghost types, because there are definitely a lot of ghost types that are drafted, and like ghost spam's incredibly prevalent this gen with the lack of pursuit. So that's just something to keep in mind. I'd say as well, I really like the speed on this team. He's got a pretty fast team, a lot of good breakers as well. And I think like overall, like this team's still pretty balanced. Like defensively, like this team isn't amazing, but definitely can like sustain itself somewhat.
Yeah, some priority too, and decent scarf options, and
Yeah.
even in very very niche trick room with Reuniclus, Will, and Marowak. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh, true.
Who knows? All right, move on here. Move on here from Retadaman. Move on here to Spies, which has got the Dragapult, Mega Gardevoir, Scizor, Infernape, Milotic, Raikou, Hippowdon, Galarian, Spiritomb, Audino, and Regice. I would like Agronauts to explain the question mark in the left-hand side of the screen here. Agronauts, please.
So, the first time that I went through the list with Haz about the rankings, we were discussing Spy's team, and he somehow was slightly higher than the 4th position until we realized there is no grass type. And the question mark, if you zoom in, has grass on it. So this signifies the fact that there is no grass type, which is rather surprising as grass resists ground. The only ground resist on this team is Wheezing if he's levitating. So
Yes.
that's not the most ideal situation to be in.
Thank you for that explanation, Agronauts. I really appreciate that. I'm sure all the viewers do as well. Yeah, the ground weakness is super AIDS. I've used Galarian before. I love it. I think it's a great mon. And I like having to choose between like whether or not I want to run Levitate or Neutralizing Gas. But I feel like in most matchups it's going to be like, oh, well, I have to run Levitate. I don't get to have fun with Neutralizing Gas. And it's kind of...
Yeah, like the other thing as well, that just makes him weak to T-spikes, in essence. Like his default options aren't bad. It's Scizor and the aforementioned Galarian. But like that definitely means like actually if he's not running Levitate as well, that does mean like Spike Stack does hurt his removal as well. Like the fact he doesn't have either a flying type or a grass type actually baffles me. Like I don't think I've seen that in quite a while.
Yeah, like this team doesn't have like a ton of mons that are like, oh yeah, I'll throw boots on it. Like they don't have it. Surely you can run boots.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's like an obvious bring.
Yeah, but I think he's gonna have to be forced into this. Like this seems actually really good outside of that big weakness, but it's such a huge problem for this team.
Yeah.
It just pegs it down a lot. And yeah, I think maybe the other issue as well is that his rockers are just Hippowdon and Infernape. Like that's not bad. Infernape kind of struggles with rocks in certain matchups. Hippowdon's a very reliable rocker though, so he might be able to make that work. I think offensively, this team functions pretty well. Dragapult was Mega Guards. Those two break each other's like checks pretty well, and then pairing up with like good pivots and or good momentum ones in Scizor for slow momentum, Infernape for fast momentum, and Infernape's a good glue between Dragapult and Mega Guards, I'd say. And then Milotic Hippowdon, that's like pretty decent defensively when you pair up with Scizor, well, Scizor kind of, and Galarian. Spiritomb, I assume that's there for like fighting types. But it does seem also kind of weird to have a dark type that doesn't resist ghosts when your first two mons are Dragapult and Mega Guards.
That's odd,
yeah, I think I generally prefer to have a dark type that can switch into those, pivot into those ghost moves that will like threaten those two. But he does have Audino, which I guess is gonna have to come to quite a few games if that's gonna be its main job. And then Regice, he's just there, he's just chilling.
He's chilling.
He's there with his boots.
He's there with his boots.
That's right. His flying resist is also only Raikou, I think, right?
Yeah, it's just Raikou.
Which has, I know you love Raikou.
Yeah. Honestly, my relationship with Raikou has been very up and down because, like, you see, in 2021, everyone hates Raikou, so I now have to tone down my Raikou hate because it's now become mainstream. So now it's currently just an alright mod.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it was definitely just like we've mentioned now, kind of wrap it up here. It's like there's a lot of good mons, but it's just the weaknesses that we talked about at the very beginning that just make it kind of like Jesus Christ, it's super annoying.
Yeah, honestly, the more I think about this, the more I think this team should be like number 12. But it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
As you can tell, we didn't have that much time to prep,
Yeah.
so
It is what it is.
enjoy your number 4, I suppose.
Yeah, guys. You guys talk about 5-minute prep. This is for battles. This is 5-minute prep for PRs. So.
Yep.
It's gonna have to be passable for you guys.
But I think all in all, this seems like with like if you take its like big weaknesses aside, the team it does like synergize pretty decently together. Just please, for the love of God, get a ground immunity. Don't be like Blitz.
Hell, you know what? Drop Spiritomb and just draft Tropius. That'll fix everything, right?
There you go. Yeah, Tropius will fix
the
it all.
grass and the flying type. Oh my god.
There you go.
There you go. All right.
I think Blitz could do with a Tropius instead.
Yeah, Blitz would also appreciate that. You're right.
Fight it out.
All right. We'll move on here from Spies. We're moving on to our good pal Big Dick Nick, and his team is consisting of Zorora, Latios, Mega Venusaur, Primarina, Moltres, Melmetal, Umbreon, Donphan, Heracross, Aurorus, Misdreavus, and Greedent. I don't know. My initial reaction when I saw this, I kind of put it middle of the road. I think it's just kind of all right. It's just there's a pretty balanced team in my opinion. My one sort of, I guess, kind of gripe with it is like, when it comes to Zorora and Latios, I feel like you want to have mons that are kind of just can have that instant breaking power for them. They like to be supported by having mons that can kind of break down certain monstrums, so they can kind of just come in later in the game and just click buttons. And it's kind of forced in this team. It's kind of forced to be like Heracross, Melmetal, and I guess Prim, which all of which are kind of a bit slower, maybe not coming every game, maybe not have matchup, and because in my opinion at least, depending on the team composition, you don't really want Latios to be your breaker. I much prefer it coming in kind of in the end game, kind of just cook, Dragon Reaver, Psychic Reaver, kind of just winning, and kind of same with Zorora as well. Kind of want to come in when it's kind of ready. You don't really want to swap them out when they're in. But kind of it's a small thing. It's kind of just maybe a personal opinion. It's still a very good team, very balanced team. It's got good defense, got good offense. It's just kind of a matter of how it kind of positions itself in certain matchups and how it's kind of prepped and used. But yeah, what do you guys think?
Well, okay. If we're talking about how efficiently this team has been used so far, this team will come number 16. Let's talk about how entertaining this team has been to watch. This team would easily be number 1. Yeah, this team is. I think this team is pretty well balanced. I guess my main issues with this team is like the aforementioned like speed. I think another fast one would actually help this team a lot. I would definitely take pressure on Zeraora and Latios, which you kind of want to be like good win cons, and you don't really want them to be forced into like say for like scarf options or like some sort of hazards. Forced into like some weird like hazard speed control like sets or whatever. But I think like defensively, I think this team's pretty solid. Offensively, I can understand like why this isn't meshed well together. I just think, yeah, like I said, like another like mon like between maybe Latios and Moltres, just to kind of like glue that offense a bit more, like another like reliable fast scarper. I think that could probably help his team out a lot in the long run. Agronauts, you want to talk about the hazards?
Okay, so if we run the numbers on the hazards very quickly, we see Donphan has access to Stealth Rocks, Aurorus has access to Stealth Rocks, and Heracross has Spikes. So in terms of Stealth Rocks, it's not the best of options. Aurorus, if it does come, it can run it, I guess, and Donphan, when it does come, can run it. But I think another rocker would be appreciated, and Heracross with Spikes, that's a nice option to have.
Yeah, you want mons such as Zorora and Latios to have those kind of hazards up for them, just so that their moves can kind of snag the 2-hit KOs or make sure you pick up the KO there, regardless. Because as well, kind of go back to my first point, it's like Latios and Zorora can't be your breakers and also your win con. So if they're your breakers, what's your win con? I guess winning defensively, I suppose. Which I don't mind. I prefer not to win defensively, but I'm sure some people do.
That's Farden.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I much prefer kind of to have mons such as like Melmetal or Prim kind of to break down Mons, Forza Aurora, and Latios to potentially they can just kind of come in and win the game. Yeah, I don't know. Again, like I said, I kind of put it middle of the road, and I think it's exactly that. It's kind of middle of the road team. It definitely can win games, but as we've kind of mentioned, who knows? Who knows how it's going to go with Nick? Anything else you want to mention here?
Yeah, I think on the lower tier picks, I think a lot of them do offer a lot of value. Like we said, a lot of teams are weak to ice, a lot of teams are weak to rock, especially rock teams. So I think Auroras can offer a lot of active, like offensively, but also defensively with uh, Aurora Veil. That's probably going to be kind of nice. But yeah, do have to keep in mind the hail does like limit Venusaur synthesis, but since Auroras is going to be kind of like one that doesn't come to every game, and it like maybe refrigerate can be used sometimes. It's probably not the biggest deal breaker. It's just something to keep in mind. I think Mischievous and Green are both like decent cheap mons. But yeah, I think there is something missing that will take this team from like a pretty solid team to a great team. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, maybe you can make like one or two like small transactions because I think this team's mostly there. It's just like something missing just to bring everything all together.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything else, or should we move on to the
We
next
we were pretty harsh on this team considering it's our number 3 team.
I just want to say I love Nick very much, and
Yeah,
he deserves
yeah.
to
You
be
know what,
here.
Nick? We
He
love you,
deserves to be
man.
the
We
third
love
team.
you. Yeah. Entertainment values moved your team up.
Hey man,
These rankings were definitely made before watching the week 2 game.
hey man, look. All right, I put this team number 8. I don't know why it's number 3 here. It is what it is.
Okay, all right. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing.
We moved-
Pushing
we
the
moved-
blame.
We've run the
We-
numbers. and
I'm
it's
sticking to
number
my
two.
guns. I love
Anyways.
Just
Nick.
how it works.
Anyways, on to Nightmare, our Lord and Savior, the GOAT of all of Draft League. He has Tapu Koko, Gliscor, Latios, Zarude, Klefki, Jellicent, Mega Kangaskhan, Seismitoad, Galar, Zapdos, Roselia, and Torracat. Oh my, guys. If you guys don't know, I know Haz and Agronauts know, but my love for Nightmare is it's unmatched. This guy, oh, he's my favorite player.
Right, I don't think even he knows. He's probably gonna be watching this being very
Yeah.
confused.
No, he probably will. But yeah. Anyway, talk about his team actually. Again, as you look at it, it's just a very solid team. So you see Tapu Koko, Gliscor, Latios, all very solid mons. I mean, you look through the entire team and go, there isn't really one like bad mon on the team. Some people may say Torracat or something. I don't know. I've never really
I'd
used
say Torracat, but we can beg to differ.
Torracat. That's fine. Every other mon,
Agree
like
to
it's just.
disagree.
It's a fine 1-pointer. Like for a 1-pointer, it's completely fine.
Yeah. So again, like I think every mon on the team is just really solid. Again, it has pretty much everything around it. The only thing, very small thing in my opinion, I think some weeks it may struggle to find like a bit of like kind of get some offense going. Other than Galar Zapdos, which granted I haven't used yet, but it seems to be very good offensively. Other than that, it seems kind of lacks some instant offense pressure. I guess Zarude to an extent as well. But I think it kind of doesn't get canceled out, but like because of the fact of how well structured this team is and how well synergized it is, you can kind of play around it and kind of just force teams to kind of whittle them down slowly instead. Because outside of Galar, Zapdos and Zarude doesn't have that kind of instant offense, I suppose. But it's still fine, and I think he can still definitely make it work for sure. Yeah, do you guys have anything else to say for Nightmare?
I think the special breaking is actually a bit of a big problem. Like,
Yeah.
Latios isn't known for it's basically known like these days for like being pretty passive, but it's the best special attack on this team, stat wise, and then the second most is Roselia, so that's kind of bad because like it's just mainly gonna be Coco and like boosting item Latias. So that's mainly gonna break on the special side. So that can be kind of annoying. But he does have like decent other breakers on the physical side that can maybe get around it. But that's just something to consider. I think like he's got some pretty solid hazard control. Like yes, Seismitoad and Gliscor, both ground types. It's very Gen 7 this team as well, even if there is a Zarude. It's kind of a theme of a lot of these teams, it feels like. But even with like the double ground, like these mons, you can easily bring them to most games, and they can easily sell up for rocks fine enough. And he has multiple modes of like strikes as well. So definitely having that hazard stat can make up for the fact that he does maybe like a bit of instant offense, which I do like a lot. His removers are fine as well. I think the only other thing I'd say is that maybe he's a bit ice weak. Like Torracat, I don't really think that's much of a resistor. It's like Klefki and Jellison, and then there's like ones like Gliscor, Latias, Sarud, um,
Zapdos.
yeah, Zapdos, Roselia. But that's a lot of ice weaknesses, and a lot of those are pivotal mons for this team. So I think that is like that's a bit of a big problem there.
Yeah, Klefki and Jelson are fine for ice resist, but when you have so many mons that are weak to it, it kind of makes it really annoying. Like that's 6 mons there. You could
Yeah.
bring a full team weak to ice. You could. There should be he's definitely got to bring Klefki and Jelson. One of them has to come to every single game. Maybe even both of them have to come to every single, not every single game, but you know what I mean.
I know Stranger's bravery has been shafted a bit earlier in the PR, so I'm gonna give it a bit of a redemption arc over here. Banded Bravebird on this team is pretty annoying to switch into. Klefki and Coco, they aren't the greatest of resists, so yeah, I do think that could be kind of annoying to deal with.
That looks nice. Yeah, I'm interested to see also how he uses Mega Kang in this team as well.
Yeah,
I think there's a good Mega on this team also. I think it's
Yeah.
quite underrated. So
yeah, I think he has. I mean, his knockoff is going to be Gliscor and Seismitoad. I think with Gliscor, he might have enough other mons to where it isn't pressured into specific like a specific role. So I think he could fit onto that. Like Seismitoad can fit knock well enough. I think maybe the other thing as well is that Coco with electric terrain, that does also kind of mean that Mega can't utilize the rest set as well, but I don't think that's a huge issue. That's just going to be like in certain situations that might be kind of annoying. But yeah, it's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So I think the rest set of Mega Kang is probably one of its best sets.
Yeah, I again I really like this team a lot. It's just I'm curious to see if he can get the offense going as well on this team. I think it's a really good team. It's just a matter of if he can kind of get it going and utilize it well. Use mons such as Zapdos, Sarud, and everything else effectively. If he can do that, then this team's really fucking good because of how just well it synergizes together naturally through the type-ins. Anything else, or should we move on to our number 1 team?
So who could it be?
oh no.
I don't know. Maybe it'll be Christian Peck. Let's find out.
Let's see.
It's not.
What a disappointment! What a terrible team.
Alright, so our number 1 team for Swarm for Season 6 is going to be Abriel. His team is going to consist of the Mega Gallade, Tapu Fini, Aegis Slash, Mandibuzz, Mamoswine, Thunderous Therian, Talonflame, Celebi, Garbodor, and the very powerful Kamala. This to me, I remember when I first saw it, it's like a mixture of like I don't remember what seasons it was now. A few seasons ago, a mixture of like a few of those mods put together. This was definitely kind of like my favorite team I initially saw it, just because I'm maybe I'm a bit biased. It's something I'd use, but it's definitely really solid offensively. It's got really solid type cores. Kind of patches things up really well and kind of covers each other pretty well. Good offense all around. The only small thing I'll mention is with Aegis Slash, for example, is he may be forced to bring Aegis Slash a bit more defensively some weeks, which, in my opinion, isn't Aegis Slash's best set, because I feel like defensively, if you know it's going to be defensive, you can kind of take advantage of it with the likes of Taunt, Protect, Substitute, force it to eventually be put into that offensive form, and you can kind of make use of that. Because speaking of like fairy types, for example, unless you're bringing Garbodor or swapping in your Talonflame, an offensive fairy looks pretty good versus this team, and you gotta maybe bring defensive Aegis Slash, which is not, it's whatever, you can do it, it's fine, it's just kind of annoying because offensive Aegis Slash is so good. You don't want to do that, but yeah, I feel like they kind of just, it's not just small weaknesses all around, but all around it's just a really good team in my opinion, offensively and defensively as well, and great pivoting options as well. Yeah, it's really kind of all the notes I have. Do you guys have anything else to say?
Oh, I guess I'll go then. So I do like this team a lot. I think it synergizes pretty well together. There are some slight issues I have with this team. I do think certain rock types are going to be kind of pain for this team. The rock resist like Aegis Slash and Mega Delayed, which I think is fine. Uh, but I do think with like three flying types all weak to rocks, I think especially like Mandibuzz, which is kind of pivotal for this team because I think if he loses Mandibuzz, then ghost types are a huge problem for this team. And Fundy T, which is his main way of special offense, in my opinion, for this team. Um, that can be kind of annoying. Um, I mean, the Rockers being just Mammothswine and Celebi, I think that's like okay enough. Like those two are very reliable at getting rocks up, in my opinion. And yeah, I think all the Norvis team is like pretty well balanced. It's maybe just like those like slight issues, like in certain matchups, which might be kind of annoying. But I don't think he can play around it. Maybe you can argue you'd want like his. Maybe you can argue like I feel like his. It doesn't have amazing offensive scarf options on this team outside of Mammothswine, but Mammothswine's like 80 base speed means it isn't going to be a perfect scarf for all the time, and you wanna run like Life Orb more than like Scarf, in my opinion.
Please
And
not
not
run by Scarf Mammothswine. Please don't.
yeah,
Please.
yeah, you're gonna make Jack very upset. He's gonna cry. They these casuals, they don't know how to use Mammothswine like a true person. But like yeah, like if you look at it like faster mons, it's like Talonflame, weak to rocks, Gallade, which obviously can't really be like a Scarper, and like Fondy T, which is a pretty good Scarper, but again, it's just a bit of a hazards issue. Which, I mean, he has decent removers, so it's not a huge problem. But it's just something to keep in mind. And like the rest of these mons, I think Finny can be like a decent like surprise Scarf and like some matchups, but that's very matchup dependent.
Yeah, I think he definitely can surprise. I think he also, his priority options are fine as well with Memo and AG. I think the priority
Yeah.
is something to note too.
Yeah, that's true. That definitely helps the team a lot as well.
But as you said, like Mandibuzz, yeah, he definitely has to play Mandibuzz really well. Because if it goes down, then kind of the game just goes wide open. Unless you've kind of set things up for yourself to win already, then it looks tough. It's going to be a trading game, and you're probably going to lose out if you're not set up. If Manny goes down.
If I was prepping for this team, I'd definitely be like circling all my prep into like ways I can pressure that Mandibuzz. In any possible way. Because if that goes down, then yeah, this team definitely a lot of the things that Mandibuzz covers, it kind of makes it a lot more wide open. It definitely like makes it a bit more tougher for him to deal with.
Yeah, and it kind of circles.
But we'll see.
Kind of circles back to fairy types as well. Like fairy types are definitely going to want to come versus this team with the likes of Mandibuzz and Gallade. Like naturally, you're just going to bring a fairy. You're probably going to play against a fairy every week if they have a fairy. And then again, you're kind of unless you also have Talonflame, you're swapping in your AG, and that's kind of
like Garbodor. That's not really gonna come too often.
No,
but that's like certain specific scenarios.
Yeah.
Like versus Blitz, I'd bring a versus Blitz, and that might just be about it.
Unless like all your other mons are so good in the matchup, I just don't see you ever bringing Garbodor unless you literally have to.
I mean, it's a fine mon to pick up because like it does offer rolls.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, my only thing to say would be I don't think it's possible, but to get rid of Talonflame and Garbodor for another Rust mon, but I don't think that's obviously nothing else.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think the Talonflame's like fine here. Plus, I gives him a mon pass and delays.
I feel like if you are bringing Talonflame, you're not going to bring one. Well, you have to bring Mandibuzz. You can't bring Thundy then, unless you're rocking the triple bird.
I mean, you can run triple flying. I drafted triple flying before the great Skarmory, Moltres, Noivern team.
Oh yeah.
Of old, and I've seen Peyton draft it a trillion times. Although Peyton does not rate this triple flying team, so that definitely does move it down a bit. But yeah, I think even though this is the number one team, this is a very good team. He does need to play smartly with it because if he's kind of a bit careless with this team, I think there are teams that are down which do eclipse this team. But if he's playing like really efficiently, then I definitely think this is probably the best team in Swarm this season.
Yeah, I do like how you also
Essentially.
supported Mamoswine as well, kind of in terms of the fact that like Mamoswine's his only ground type on his team, but he at least has Dundee and Selby as well, which are pretty good electric checks in a sense, which takes a lot of pressure off of Mamoswine, which Mamoswine loves as well. So yeah, anything else, or are we about done here?
Oh, we are done. Oh, that's
record
we'd love
breaking
to see
time.
it.
Record time? I haven't been keeping track of how long we've been going, but anyway, guys, that is going to conclude our Swarm power rankings. Again, just to reiterate, our notes were very brief. We didn't have a lot of time to prepare, but we hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please not only subscribe to our channel, but subscribe to Parksy.
Yes, that's very important.
Make sure to subscribe to Parksy. I'm excited to see how Swarm concludes the season. I know some of these coaches already have made transactions. I hope coaches have taken some good points away from this video. And yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Any final words, gentlemen?
If you want to cry, you can cry in the general chat. That's what
Exactly.
we'll
Yeah,
say.
yeah, you can.
Just remember, guys, even if your team was ranked low, at least you aren't Blitz.
Yeah, at least you aren't 16th.
Yeah, unless you are Blitz, in which case, well, you're 2-0, so you know.
Yeah.
PRs don't mean everything.
Yeah. All right, that's gonna wrap it up, guys. Thank you for watching, and we will see you guys in the future. Peace out. Fine on my end when I pull up the recordings,
right.
so it sounded fine. But yeah, you guys can just talk randomly. It doesn't really matter.
Hello, Haz. How are you today?
I'm doing terribly. How about you?
I'm okay because it's only been 7 minutes of the day so far. So.
You know that is very true. I've had a very productive 7 days. Sorry, seven minutes.
7 minutes.
Not 7 days.
So far, so good.